Space Jam. I love Space Jam. I have never ever been tired of it in my life. I watched it on my 21st birthday. I watched it in the theater with my friends when they showed it at our school campus because it's like a throwback week. And the theater for it was packed and people were laughing and hooting. It was just like, it's so ingrained in my nostalgia that I can't help but adore it. And even when I take my nostalgia goggles off and I think about it critically, I still like it because I don't see it as horrible as other people do. I get why. Don't get me wrong. I understand it's different from the Looney Tunes that maybe they grew up with and maybe don't want it to be this way. And I do think that certain things, basically like, you know, the entire Michael Jackson exposition music video segment is very clunky and weird. But at the same time, I can honestly say that I can watch that movie over and over again and never get tired of it and never get bored. But then when I was older and grew up on the internet, I realized that a lot of people hate Space Jam. It is not very well liked. But I think the weirdest thing for me that I never really got until I really started looking at people and listening to other critics, like the Nostalgia Critic for example, is that people really hate Lola Bunny. And that's just so weird to me because I like Lola. I've always been a Lola fan, and I guess I never really got it. But using my internet research, I looked up on this website called Fuck Yeah Controversial Characters, so this is not, I'm not taking credit for this information, to look at basically a snippet about why people hate Lola. And what I got from this is this is what the paragraph says. She was probably created to be sexy. She isn't wacky like the others. She was created to add a girl to the typically all-male roster. She's considered a failed attempt to update the roster. She has no negative traits, and she replaced Honey Bunny. So basically I'm going to go through all of these things, and pardon me for looking down at my notes, I just want to keep it organized. So the first main thing is that she was created to be sexy. And I would say look at any male and female anthropomorphic animal cartoon. The Chipmunks and the Chipettes, you know, Chippendale and Gidget from Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Baloo and Rebecca from Tailspin. If you get any program with anthropomorphic animals, the women will always be sexier than the guys. They'll actually be given like figures and boobs that are up here when technically they wouldn't even be protruding that way because they don't work that way because they're not human women. But that's never been an issue that I never really got that, because that's how every single piece of animation works for these kind of characters, even in things like the Aristocats. Even when they're like full animals, and you know, Duchess isn't as sexualized as some other female cats, but she's also very curvature. She's very slender and silky compared to like the males that are more, you know, chunky and whatever. Female animal characters are always made to be prettier, unless they're evil of course, than their male counterparts. This is nothing new. It's weird and it's not always done to the best way, but I never got this was such a big deal for Lola's character because, like, one, she's not even that sexy in the kind of the idea, like when I think of sexy cartoon characters, I think like Hollywood, even more Gidget than Lola, because Lola, like, sure she wears like a crop top, but like everyone wore crop tops. It was the 90s. Everyone had like those kind of things. And she has like shorts, but like, she has an ass. She's a bunny. Like, there's nothing that screams super sexy about Lola. Sure, she's sultry and she like makes like the diva poses, but like to say that she's really like overly sexual, like, she's not really, it's not that serious. At least I never took it that way personally. Isn't wacky like the others. You know, I get this, and I think it's one of the more legitimate criticisms about her. She isn't wacky like the others, and this is very true. But also, when were they going to develop her character? You know, she was put in to be basically the Smurfette in this group, the token chick, and that's what she is. But no one would want to spend time with that character when you have Bugs and Daffy and Michael Jordan, Porky Pig and Star Leghorn. You know, her being built up is not important. You want every character to get their little spotlight moments. You don't want to basically put a character that no one knows in the spotlight and basically use that time to develop her. And I understand why this could be done better. I always felt like they should have written Lola more like Babs Bunny. But I also understand why she's not written like Babs Bunny, because of kind of the environment of that sort of period that Lola came out of. And it's like, Lola is hardly in the movie to really be able to show what she would be like, other than her role to be there to play basketball and maybe make Buzz act a fool and have a Love Jones. That's basically what she was there for. The next thing is that she was created to add a girl to the roster. My argument is like, so the fuck what? Like, Looney Tunes is mostly guys anyway. You get like the witch, I think her name is Hazel, Granny, the cat that's always getting molested by Pepe Le Pew, some throwaway female characters. I know they had like the Petunia Pig character that's around now. But like, I never saw like this was an issue. Like, so what? Like, girls like Looney Tunes. I grew up with Looney Tunes. I love Looney Tunes. But I also have always liked to see girls in mediums that I like, because I think it's annoying when there's this whole separation of like, girls only watch this and boys only watch this, so you can only have one token character. I actually think it would be great to have more girls in Looney Tunes. It's just that it never really happens, because it really is a boys club, Looney Tunes. Most people know the guy characters, and that's who they're really here to see. A failed attempt to update the roster. While Lola isn't universally liked, although I do think a lot of people of my generation do certainly love her, especially girls who grew up with that character, I can't say that she's a failed attempt at updating her roster. I think that she is known. People know her as a character. She's been in Baby Looney Tunes, Lunatics Unleashed. She was alluded to, I think there's a little cameo of her in that Tweety Bird Around the World movie. I knew there were toys of her that I had when I was a kid and my friends had when she was a kid. I'm pretty sure there's a Lola Bunny person, like, stuffed thing at Six Flags. So while people may not really like her, she is pretty much considered part of the roster, for better or for worse, for depending on the mask on it. She is part of the staple now, which is why I think she's even on the Looney Tunes show, is because people kind of expect it. People know that you kind of do need to recognize that girls are a huge part of these audiences, and you need to have girl characters that they can at least see on these shows. And so I think that Lola, while people may not like her, she's not a failed attempt. She is pretty much a part of the roster. No negative traits. Again, while I understand this, it's about screen time. If you take every Lola Bunny scene, speaking and non-speaking, you will probably at max get like 6-7 minutes. I didn't actually research it, but I'd be surprised if you broke 5, because every time I watch it, since I've known people have hated Lola, I really think to myself, and I'm like, she's barely in this movie. You get like little clips of her, like there's her main scene. Then you don't see her again until Jordan comes, and she makes a face where she's like, and then the scene where Buzz gives her a little nudge, and those are like 2 seconds, like a second scene. Then it's her, yes. Then when she's introduced as for being the main, she's like, Lola Bunny, and then there's that. Then you see her a little bit in the crowd, and she gets her one dunk shot, No One Call Me Doll. That's it. You only maybe see her running around a little bit. Then you see her when they drink the water, and she's like, wow. And then with the part where they all do the hand thing. Then she's not in the second half when the guys are all doing their shit at all. She's not there at all. You don't really see her except like maybe a few flashes in the pot. They don't see her again until her damsel in distress scene, which is like, gag me. And then that's there. Then you see her like a few parts in the finale part, like when Bill Murray goes to her, she's like, got it. That's all she says. Then she makes a little thing at the other guy. She does a little movement thing, throws it, and to someone, that's it. Then the last scene that she has is her kissing Bugs and then pulling down the screen. She's not in this movie at all, enough that I have ever gotten the ear that she has produced in people. She's just not there, and with the screen time that she's given, the focus, and I'll get into this more when I talk overview, the focus of Lola was not to make her wacky. It was for her to be a straight man character in the cast. And I get why they do this, even though it is a questionable choice. I get why this is a thing. But again, there's no time to develop her negative traits. And I would argue that most Looney Tunes characters aren't really that negative to begin with. I mean, sure, there's time where they're overconfident or snobby, but like, I mean, there's nothing for her to do. Tweety has no negative traits, but no one cares about that. Like, it just, I get why people don't like that, but again, there isn't much there to dive into. And then finally, the whole thing about replacing Honey Bunny. I would love to have 2 girl bunnies or 2 girl characters or more than 1 girl character. The token female is a bothersome trope. But I don't think the hate comes from the loss of Honey Bunny. I don't think that it was a big issue for people. I think now some might have been more attached to that character, but my parents never, my mother loved Looney Tunes, she never told me about a Honey Bunny, so I don't think it was a really issue for them. But my issue is this. The reason why Lola is written the way she is that Lola is a huge product of the 90s, and the 90s girl power institution movement where they had this idea of wanting to put female characters, a token female character, in these mostly male rosters and making them either the straight man or making them as competent as the male leads, because there just weren't a lot of female characters. And so in order to make the show unisex, they would just have like 2 guys or 3 guys and 1 girl, and she'd either be teen mom, the straight man, or the hot chick. It really depended on what they were doing. But you see these all the time. You got your April O'Neils, you got your Gidgets, your Dots, your Babs. Yeah, you know, these were all characters made to be as competent as the guys, but also fill a role for women, to have little girls have a character that they could like and they could look up to in some sort of way. You can say it's silly to have kids look up to cartoon characters, but I would argue that when you grow up with these kind of cartoons that are really influential in your life, I can name plenty of characters that have influenced me. Not Lola Bunny so much, but other characters from either comic books or cartoons that have influenced me as a person or have helped me out as a person personally. So I think that it is important to have those kind of things, especially because, like, girls like these things, and they would like to see themselves in these things. And this is why Lola, except for her one damsel in distress scene, is made to look cool, because they were appealing to that thing in the 90s of wanting to have cool female characters who were competent, who could keep up with the boys, and could give girls a person to be like, yeah, I can be badass like Lola. And I can say, as someone who grew up in like the black community, for black girls who want to play basketball, I know plenty of them that was like all about Lola. They were like, cause like there's a whole stigma against women in basketball to begin with. So I think it was just cool to have a girl come in and acting better at it than most of the guys. I mean, that was just interesting and fun, and I think that it was like, it's not revolutionary, I wouldn't say it that far, but I get the sentiment of wanting to make her that cool character, but they also wanted to soften her up so that she could be a love interest to Bugs. And I will say this, she's an imperfect character. I think that they should have made her more like Babs. I think that in other incarnations of her, like the comic book version of her that I've read, that I actually own a comic book version of Lola when she was a pizza delivery girl, is great. I love that she's a pizza delivery girl because that's not a very female-oriented job. I love that she's being snarky and funny. Yeah, she's an XP of Bugs, but so are so many other female counterparts of male characters that are supposed to be like a flip version or inverse version of them, like Daisy and Donald. I mean, come on, it's not that big of a deal, at least not to me. And I think that, yeah, she's imperfect and they could do more with her, but for the little screen time that she has, I'm telling you, she has very few scenes in this movie where she actually gets to do things besides run around the ring or make reaction shots. They wanted to make a character that girls could look up to and enjoy. I'm sure there are plenty of boy characters who, like, love Daffy and Bugs in this kind of idealistic way. I mean, I fucks with Daffy. Daffy is my homeboy. I strive to be like Daffy every day of my life, except get shot. But, you know, it's the streets. But with Lola, I get why they wanted to have that for girls. Especially for younger girls who may not have had that. And for little girls like me, I remember being in preschool, Lola Bunny was the shit. I mean, this one girl had a Lola Bunny doll, and I hated her so much for so long because I wanted that doll so bad. My mother wouldn't buy it for me. Even now, I would love to have one of the Space Jam jerseys with Lola Bunny. I had the Space Jam video game for PlayStation, and Lola Bunny was always my team captain because she was just a boss. And I loved her. And that's not to say that because I love her, I think she shouldn't be criticized. I get the criticism. I get why there are certain flaws. Some of them I think are silly and just are kind of there because they don't like her character because of what, personally I think it's because of what she does to Bugs. She makes Bugs act silly, and I don't think they like that because Bugs has always been the jokester himself. But the few problems I have with her, I rationalize it as it being because she's not really in the movie. But now we have the Looney Tunes show where we have the new Lola Bunny. And I will be perfectly honest with you. The only reason I was even looking at this show is because I heard Lola was in it and I heard that she was supposed to be awesome in it. And I watched the episodes that she was in and I really, really hated what they did to her. So I know people who love this version of Lola and I have no shade toward them. If you like this version of Lola, do you, that's great. But for me, I felt like they took a character, Lola, who was flawed, but at least was there in a genuine way to help little girls connect with a medium that was mostly about the boys. And was a character who was, like I said, imperfect but cool and competent to making her a man-obsessed ditz. And I just thought to myself, why would you do that? To me, that's not loony. When I heard they're going to make her be in the show, I thought, oh, they're going to finally make her like Babs Bunny, who was the perfect person who they should have based Lola on. But no, they make her this. They make her like Lena the hyena from Roger Rabbit. I haven't seen every Lola episode. I've only seen the first couple ones that she was in because those are the ones I saw first. And it just turned me off. I don't think there's anything wrong with liking that incarnation, but for me, it rings very shallow. And I just don't see her having the same kind of, I don't want to say depth, because that implies that Lola herself had depth. But I would say that the depth to Lola isn't in her character, but in the intent of her character. Her creation came from a loving place. It came from a group of people who wanted to give girls a character that they could relate to, even though she was, you know, a 90s girl power token, which is a flawed way of writing that character, but it was a genuine thing. To making a character that was kind of like a laugh about why people hated that character. Because what I think is really telling about this whole thing is that in Space Jam, Lola and Bugs had a mutual attraction, but Lola was the cool, confident one. She was in charge, she was smooth, but like Bugs could also make her loopy because in the end where she's kind of flirting with him, it was a mutual kind of thing. But in Looney Tunes, not at all. Lola is obsessed and Bug is pretty much, at least from what I saw, not here for that. But yeah, those are my thoughts on that. I don't get it. Really. I really don't. But I understand why those kind of characters can be annoying. Me personally, I understand. I think that now, seeing how things have gone, I respect the corny 90s girl power sentiment so much more now. Because at least, even though it was kind of corny, it was genuine and at least trying to make it seem like girls actually mattered to executive producers.